What if I told you that the life you're living right now, your name, your family, your greatest challenges, and even your most painful moments, was all chosen by you long before you were born? Not chosen by your conscious self, but by a deeper, older, wiser part of you. A version of you that exists beyond space and time. Your soul, with infinite clarity, crafted this life with precision, like an artist painting a masterpiece of experience. The suffering you've faced, the love you've lost, the dreams you chase, they aren't random. They are part of a sacred design, a soul contract written in the ink of your past lives and sealed by your deepest desire. To grow, to evolve, to remember who you really are. Life didn't just happen to you, you designed it. And somewhere, deep within you, that truth still lives. Ancient texts and mystical teachings across cultures, from the Vedas to the mystery schools of Egypt to the scrolls of early mystics, all speak of this secret, that before birth, every soul enters a state of profound awareness, a place beyond the physical, where it sees the entire tapestry of its existence laid bare. In that space, time does not exist the way we experience it here. Past, present, and future blend into a single thread, and your soul observes every ripple caused by every choice. It knows what energies are incomplete, what wounds still ache, what patterns remain unresolved. It sees the echoes of your past incarnations, the pride that turned into downfall, the love that went unspoken, the compassion that bloomed too late, and it begins weaving a new life, one that offers you the perfect set of circumstances to heal, to remember, to finally evolve beyond those patterns. You don't just choose what to experience, you choose who to become. You pick your parents, your body, your country, your challenges, and your gifts. You even choose your greatest obstacles, not to suffer, but to transform. A soul seeking to understand strength might choose a life of vulnerability. One longing to awaken compassion might design a childhood of emotional distance. These choices aren't made out of punishment or karma as retribution. They're acts of devotion, acts of courage. Your soul chooses the fire so that you may rise from it. It chooses the storm so that you may learn to sail. And once that sacred blueprint is complete, it is stored not in a book or a scroll, but in the one place that travels with you into this life, your subconscious mind. Your subconscious is far more than a collection of instincts and habits. It is a vault, ancient, vast, and layered. A multi-dimensional database that holds the memory of every life you've lived, every emotion you've felt, every contract you've made. While your conscious mind is busy surviving the day-to-day, your subconscious is quietly steering the ship, drawing you toward the lessons your soul promised it would learn. Why do you feel an unexplained pull toward a certain person? Why do you self-sabotage when you're close to success? Why do some fears feel older than this lifetime? These are the fingerprints of the subconscious at work, replaying the agreements you made before birth, guiding you back to the path you came here to walk. Most people think the subconscious is simply where we hide things we don't want to face, but in truth, it's the keeper of everything we need to face. It's the voice of the soul, speaking in symbols and sensations, in patterns and dreams. It doesn't speak in logic. It speaks in intuition, in synchronicity, in the ache that comes from forgetting your true nature. When you ignore it, it manifests louder. Through repeated relationships, chronic conditions, or that gnawing sense that something is missing. But when you begin to listen, really listen, you'll find that the subconscious is constantly trying to remind you of the life you chose. It's nudging you to remember that nothing is meaningless, that every challenge holds a hidden door, and that your deepest wounds are also your deepest portals to power. Understanding the subconscious is like learning the language of your soul. You begin to see how your triggers are teachers, how your setbacks are sacred, how your desires are directions. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to show me?" You begin to reclaim authorship over your life, not by controlling it, but by remembering that you wrote it. That the obstacles weren't put in your way, they are the way, and suddenly everything changes. Because when you remember that your soul chose this life, you stop running from it. You start walking it with purpose. You stop fearing your path and start becoming it. And that's just the beginning. There is a moment beyond the veil of time where your soul sat in perfect awareness and asked itself one question: what do I still need to learn? In that moment, there was no fear, no pain, no ego, just clarity. With that clarity, your soul began shaping the next phase of its eternal journey, not with randomness, but with intention. It reviewed every thread of your past existences, the victories, the betrayals, the quiet acts of kindness, and the wounds that still pulsed beneath the surface. Each experience formed a pattern, and from that pattern, a purpose emerged. You weren't assigned a life, you crafted one, not as a passive observer, but as an active architect. Your life as it is now, the people in it, the hardships, the timing of events, even the gifts you were born with, was all selected in advance, with precision and love, to serve your growth. And that selection process is more detailed than most could imagine. Before entering the physical world, your soul moves through a process of spiritual planning, often referred to in ancient traditions as the life review or pre-birth council. This is not a meeting with judges or external authorities. This is an intimate collaboration between your higher self and evolved guiding energies. You're shown your past lives, not as a list of events, but as waves of energy, emotion, and impact. You feel what others felt in response to your choices. You see how love rippled outward. You witness how pain repeated across time because certain lessons were left unfinished. And you ask yourself, not from guilt, but from deep wisdom, what can I do differently? How can I grow from this? How can I transform this karma into wisdom? From those questions, a plan is born. You choose specific experiences that will give you the exact conditions needed to evolve. But here's what most people forget. It's not about the external circumstances. It's about what those circumstances will awaken in you. A soul might choose poverty, not to suffer, but to understand abundance from within. Another might choose betrayal, not for the pain, but for the profound awakening it triggers, the breaking open of the heart that allows true compassion to rise. Sometimes the soul chooses a quiet life to integrate peace. Other times, it chooses chaos to ignite change. Every soul is different, and each blueprint is as unique as a fingerprint. But always, at the center of it, is the lesson, the experience that the soul longs to embody, not just in theory, but in lived, emotional, transformative truth. And this is where it gets even more intricate. Your soul doesn't plan this life alone. It does so with others, members of your soul group, beings you've traveled with across lifetimes. You may choose to meet again as lovers, siblings, friends, or rivals. And yes, sometimes the people who hurt you most were souls who loved you deeply in another form. They agreed to challenge you, not out of cruelty, but because you asked them to. You asked for growth, and they answered. These soul contracts are powerful. They weave together complex webs of learning, offering you opportunities to heal not just your wounds, but shared wounds that ripple through generations, through timelines, through layers of being. And within this carefully designed web, your subconscious mind carries the map. But when you enter the physical world, something profound happens. You forget. You pass through the veil of forgetfulness, a necessary part of the experience of being human. Imagine watching a movie knowing the ending. There would be no suspense, no emotion, no real transformation. The forgetting is not a punishment. It's the condition that makes the learning real. You arrive in this world as a blank slate on the surface, but beneath that surface, deep within your subconscious, the blueprint still exists. The soul remembers what the mind has forgotten, and through symbols, emotions, and synchronicities, it tries to wake you up. The subconscious becomes the translator between your soul's eternal knowing and your present moment experience. It sends you clues in the form of patterns you can't seem to escape, emotions that feel too heavy to explain, recurring dreams, or people who feel instantly familiar. It's the strange pull you feel towards certain places, or the intense fear of something you've never experienced. These are echoes from the blueprint, reminders of the plan your soul designed. And while your conscious mind may dismiss them as irrational or coincidental, your subconscious knows better. It's not working against you. It's working for you, quietly, persistently, and with incredible depth. But this same forgetting that protects the purity of your journey can also trap you. You may come to believe that life is happening to you, that you are a victim of chance or fate. You may feel lost, unworthy, or broken, when in truth, you are simply living a plan that you once created with the deepest wisdom and love. The key to remembering that lies in learning to listen to your subconscious, to decode the symbols and stories it offers you daily. The triggers, the emotions, the repeating cycles. They're not punishments, they're invitations. Invitations to remember, to wake up, to step back into alignment with the path your soul set out to walk. When you begin this inner work, everything starts to shift. Life stops feeling like a series of accidents and starts revealing itself as a profound and sacred unfolding. You begin to see the meaning behind your pain, the reason behind your delays, the wisdom hidden in your longing. And slowly, piece by piece, the fog begins to lift. You start remembering, not in facts or memories, but in truth, in a deep sense of resonance. You begin to trust your path, even when it hurts. You stop resisting the difficult moments and begin asking, what is this trying to teach me? That question alone can crack open 1,000 lifetimes of forgetting. And this is the true magic of being human, that even in the face of forgetting, we are always being guided back to the truth. The truth that we are not lost, we are not broken, we are on a journey home, to the self that never forgot, to the soul that chose this life with sacred purpose, to the blueprint that lives still within the subconscious mind, waiting for us to remember that nothing was ever random. It was all chosen, it was all designed, and it was always leading us back to ourselves. There's a force shaping your life, moment by moment, more precise than chance and more compassionate than fate. It's not luck, it's not punishment, it's karma, but not the version most people think they understand. Karma isn't some cosmic revenge or rigid payback system. It's not about being good to earn rewards or bad to suffer consequences. Karma is much deeper. It's energetic continuity, the echo of your soul's past choices resonating into the present. Not to punish, but to teach. Every decision you've made in this life, and countless others, releases an energy, and that energy doesn't just vanish. It circles back, not to harm you, but to complete the experience. Karma is how the soul learns balance. It's how wisdom is earned, not handed out. It's the law of mirrors, showing you exactly what you still carry inside, what you haven't healed, what you haven't yet mastered. But here's where it gets even more powerful. Karma never takes away your freedom. You are not stuck in some unchangeable destiny. Karma sets the stage, but you choose how to act on it. That's where free will comes in. These two forces, karma and free will, are not at odds. They are partners. Karma gives you the script, and free will decides how you'll perform it. Think of life as a theater. The roles, the themes, the opening scenes, they were chosen long ago. But how you walk across that stage, how you improvise, whether you rise, repeat, or rebel, that's entirely in your hands. Free will is the sacred gift you carry into every incarnation. It's how you transform karma into growth. You may not control the circumstances, but you always control your response. And your response is what creates new karma, new lessons, new momentum, new outcomes. This is why some people seem to repeat the same experiences again and again. It's not because life is unfair or cruel. It's because the soul, through the subconscious mind, is trying to resolve something. If the lesson isn't learned, the pattern continues. The same kind of relationship, the same type of betrayal, the same limiting belief, wearing different clothes, not to keep you stuck, but to give you another chance to choose differently. The soul doesn't get tired, it's infinitely patient. The same karmic test will appear in new ways until you meet it with awareness, until you stop reacting the same way, until you make a new choice rooted in love instead of fear, in growth instead of protection. This is why some of your most painful experiences were also the most transformative. Karma works like a mirror. It doesn't accuse, it reflects. And when you stop blaming the mirror, you can finally see what needs healing. That's when karma becomes grace. It stops being about consequence and becomes a compass. You start noticing how your smallest choices ripple outward, how your thoughts create shifts in energy, how your intentions bend reality. This is the moment when you move from victim to co-creator. You no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but "What is this showing me about myself?" And karma doesn't work only on a personal level. There's also collective karma, the energy shared by families, nations, cultures, even humanity itself. Entire groups can carry ancestral wounds, inherited patterns, unfinished stories that echo through generations. And souls often choose to incarnate into these lineages on purpose, not by accident, not by punishment, but as a sacred agreement to help transmute old energy and shift the collective forward. If you've ever felt like the black sheep, the cycle breaker, the one who sees through the illusion while everyone else repeats the script, it may be because your soul volunteered for this exact mission. To help heal not just your story, but the stories that came before you. The subconscious carries these collective memories, and you may feel their weight without understanding why. But the moment you bring awareness to it, the moment you choose differently, you begin to rewrite the story. Not just for yourself, but for everyone who came before and everyone who will come after. But karma and free will are only part of the story. To truly understand your soul's journey, you must also look at the people walking beside you. Those strange, powerful, often unexplainable connections that shape your life in profound ways. The ones you can't forget, the ones you can't ignore. These are not random encounters, they are sacred contracts. Long before you were born, your soul met with others in that higher realm, and together you agreed to meet again. These contracts can take many forms: a parent who challenges you, a friend who awakens your spirit, a partner who breaks your heart to open it wider, even a stranger who shows up for a single moment but shifts the course of your life. These connections are not accidents. They are pre-written scenes in your soul's unfolding drama. Some of these souls are part of your inner circle, your soul group. You travel with them lifetime after lifetime, playing different roles each time. One life they may be your child, the next, your mentor. The roles change, but the bond remains, and these bonds are deeply encoded in your subconscious. It's why you feel instant recognition when you meet certain people. It's why you can't let go of someone, even when logic tells you to. It's why some relationships feel ancient, because they are. You've met before. You've danced this dance through lifetimes, sometimes in harmony, sometimes in chaos, but always with a shared intention: to grow together, to mirror each other, to awaken each other. And here's the deeper truth. Not all soul contracts are pleasant. Some are made for challenge, for contrast, for triggering the very wounds that need healing. That person who hurt you, who betrayed you, who pushed you to your limits. Their soul may have agreed to play that role for your awakening. These aren't easy truths to accept, but when you do, you begin to see life differently. You stop taking everything so personally. You start asking what the lesson is instead of why the pain is there. And in doing so, you reclaim your power. Because even in these contracts, free will still exists. You can learn the lesson with grace or resistance. You can walk away or stay and heal. The contract sets the stage, but how the scene plays out is up to you. Sometimes, the people closest to you are the ones your soul has the most karma with. They reflect the parts of you that are still unhealed. They test your patience, your boundaries, your compassion. But within those tests is your greatest opportunity for transformation. Your subconscious knows this, even when your conscious mind forgets. That's why you're drawn to certain people without reason. Why you can't explain some connections, or why you're pulled back into relationships you thought were over. These soul-level agreements are powerful, and until the energy is resolved, the bond remains. But here's the beautiful part. Once the lesson is integrated, once the karmic balance is restored, the relationship shifts. It either transforms into something higher, more aligned, or it dissolves with peace. There's no more charge, no more repetition, just understanding, closure, freedom. And in that freedom, you feel lighter. You begin to attract different people, higher frequencies, more aligned experiences. Because now your subconscious is no longer pulling from old blueprints. It's working with the new energy you've chosen through conscious healing. Every soul you meet is part of the sacred web. Every connection holds a key. And the deeper you go into understanding karma, free will, and soul contracts, the more empowered you become to live your life on purpose. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. Every experience is part of the curriculum your soul designed long ago. And the moment you begin to see life this way, everything changes. Not just your outer world, but your inner world. You stop surviving your life and start embodying it, not as a victim of destiny, but as the soul who chose this path with wisdom, courage, and love. Reincarnation isn't a straight line. It doesn't move forward like a clock, ticking from one experience to the next. Instead, it moves in spirals, like a sacred dance repeating steps with greater awareness each time. Your soul doesn't just keep coming back to accumulate experiences. It returns to refine itself, to deepen understanding, and to finally master what was once misunderstood. Each life is a new layer of the spiral, each incarnation a return to familiar lessons, but with the opportunity to respond to them differently. That's the beauty of this journey. Even when it feels like you're stuck, even when the same heartbreaks or patterns seem to circle back, you are never actually back where you started. You are revisiting with more wisdom, more depth, more spiritual memory encoded in your subconscious. And that subtle evolution is everything. Imagine a soul who struggled with pride in one lifetime. Perhaps they were powerful, influential, admired, but they lacked humility, and their fall came from ego. That soul may choose to return as someone overlooked or underestimated, not to be punished, but to feel what it's like to build worth from within instead of relying on validation. Or a soul who clung to control may return into chaos, so it can learn the sacred art of surrender. This is how the spiral works, bringing you full circle, but always inviting you to choose with more love, more consciousness, more freedom. And the spiral doesn't only exist across lifetimes, it also shows up within a single life. How many times have you faced the same type of situation with different people, different places, but the same emotional theme? That's your soul's curriculum playing out in real time, with the subconscious mind acting as the bridge between your deeper lessons and your daily life. And what's most fascinating is how the subconscious keeps pulling the same types of experiences into your reality, until you finally see the pattern for what it is. A wake-up call. A mirror. A portal. When something keeps happening to you, whether it's rejection, abandonment, betrayal, or loss, it's not because the world is against you. It's because your soul is offering you another opportunity to shift the story, to evolve the response, to break free from the unconscious cycle and step into conscious creation. And in that moment of awareness, the spiral can lift. You rise above the loop, even if the external circumstances haven't changed. Why? Because you changed. You became the version of yourself that could finally pass the test you once failed. But the soul's journey isn't just about the big spiritual moments. In fact, the most important lessons are hidden in the smallest, most ordinary details of life. Every single day, you are being tested, not by an outside force, but by the blueprint your own soul designed. Your triggers, your reactions, your fears, they are all teachers in disguise. And here's the key that most people miss. These lessons are not presented in grand, dramatic scenes. They come in traffic jams, difficult conversations, waiting rooms, and silent nights when no one is watching. They come when your patience is wearing thin, when your heart feels too heavy to open again, when your mind races with fear, but your soul quietly whispers, "There's another way." And this is where true transformation happens. Not in avoiding the lesson, but in choosing to meet it differently. That moment when you choose forgiveness over bitterness, when you choose to speak your truth instead of shutting down, when you walk away from what no longer serves you, not out of anger, but out of love for yourself. These aren't small moments, these are soul-level breakthroughs. They are what turn karma into wisdom and pain into power. Your subconscious plays a massive role in this transformation. It holds the memory of how you used to respond. It knows the emotions you default to. And when you begin to act from a higher place, from presence, from compassion, it takes notice. The script changes. The energy shifts. You start attracting different situations, not because the world changed, but because you did. And the soul recognizes this. It knows when you're breaking the cycle. That's why, after certain breakthroughs, life seems to feel lighter. New people arrive, new doors open, and you may not even realize it at first, but something inside you has shifted, permanently. The test came again, but this time you passed it with grace. This is how evolution works. One conscious choice at a time, one spiral at a higher octave. And this is also why some of your biggest challenges come disguised as the most mundane events. Because the soul is wise enough to know that growth doesn't require drama. It requires depth, presence, honesty, the willingness to show up even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. But you're never alone in this. Even when it feels like you're wandering through darkness, your subconscious is holding the light. It's constantly nudging you, hinting, guiding, through intuitive feelings, through dreams that linger, through subtle synchronicities that seem too precise to be coincidence. That moment when you think of someone and they suddenly call. That quote you stumble upon that feels like it was written just for you. The way a stranger's words echo exactly what you needed to hear. These aren't accidents, they are signs. And they are all part of how the subconscious mind keeps trying to guide you back to the path your soul intended. The challenge is to stop dismissing these moments, to start listening, to recognize that your outer world is always reflecting your inner state, that life is not happening to you, it's happening through you. Every situation, every emotion, every experience is a message, a mirror, a metaphor. Your job isn't to control everything. It's to pay attention, to ask deeper questions, to sit with discomfort instead of numbing it, to let your life speak to you in the language of the soul, and then have the courage to respond, not with fear, but with intention. Because when you do that, when you become aware of the spiral and choose to rise, you become the embodiment of your soul's evolution. You stop waiting for something outside of you to change and start realizing that the transformation was always meant to begin within. That's when your life begins to unfold in new ways. That's when you meet different kinds of people. That's when you stop attracting lessons and start attracting alignment. Not because the world suddenly became easier, but because you became wiser, more awake, more you. And from that place, the spiral becomes your staircase, not a loop that traps you, but a path that elevates you. A sacred, never-ending ascent back to your highest self. Have you ever had a dream so vivid it felt more real than waking life? A moment where time seemed to bend, where the air felt electric with meaning, and you couldn't explain why, but you just knew something had shifted. That's not your imagination. That's the subconscious mind speaking in its truest language. It doesn't use logic or words. It uses symbols, emotions, sensations, things that bypass the rational brain and go straight to the soul. And the more you pay attention to this language, the more you begin to realize you are being guided every day. Not by something outside of you, but by something ancient and intelligent within you. Dreams are one of the most powerful ways your subconscious delivers messages. In sleep, your conscious defenses are lowered and your soul speaks more freely. Sometimes the messages are wrapped in strange imagery or surreal storylines, but beneath the surface, there's often deep clarity. That dream where you're flying, your soul might be reminding you that freedom is possible. The one where you're lost in a house with endless rooms. It may be showing you how much of yourself you haven't yet explored. Night after night, your dreams become a private classroom for the soul, a space where hidden truths rise to the surface, asking to be remembered, understood, integrated. And then there are the signs you receive while fully awake, the moments that seem insignificant until you realize they've repeated. Numbers that follow you, like 1111 or 333. Animals that appear again and again with uncanny timing. A song that plays at the exact moment you were thinking of someone you lost. The coincidence that's too specific to ignore. These are not just random occurrences. They're signs, breadcrumbs left by your subconscious and higher self to guide you back to alignment. They show up more frequently when you're close to a breakthrough, when your soul is trying to get your attention, urging you to make a different choice, to pause, to reflect, to act. You've felt it before, that unshakable sense of déjà vu, like you've lived a moment before, that inexplicable connection with someone you just met, that gut feeling that tells you something is off, even when everything seems fine on the surface. These are all expressions of your inner knowing. Your subconscious is constantly scanning your environment, comparing it with the blueprint of your soul, and alerting you when something doesn't match, or when it absolutely does. But most people ignore this voice. They rationalize it, doubt it, suppress it. And in doing so, they cut themselves off from one of the most powerful tools for navigating life with clarity and purpose. Intuition is the bridge between your soul's wisdom and your daily choices. It's not loud, it's not dramatic. It's subtle, like a whisper at the edge of your awareness. And yet, when you learn to follow it, your entire reality begins to change. Decisions become clearer, relationships become more aligned, opportunities seem to appear at just the right time. You begin to feel as if life is working with you instead of against you, and that's because it is. You're no longer moving blindly. You're moving in harmony with the deeper current of your being. But this guidance isn't something that just turns on one day. It's always been there. The more you quiet the noise, the distractions, the overthinking, the external expectations, the more clearly you can hear it. The more you trust it, the more it speaks. And this is what awakening truly means. It's not about reaching some lofty spiritual state where all problems disappear. It's about remembering that you are not lost, you are not broken, you are not separate from the divine. You are the divine, temporarily experiencing limitation in order to transcend it. And your life, this exact life, with all its imperfections and beauty, is the sacred stage where that remembrance unfolds. The idea that you chose this life can feel overwhelming at first, especially when you think about the pain you've endured, the losses, the betrayals, the unanswered prayers. But with time and deeper awareness, it becomes liberating. Because if you chose this life, you also chose the strength to meet it. You chose the inner resources to overcome it. And most importantly, you chose it because something inside you knew that this was the life that would give you what your soul truly needed. Not what your ego wanted, not what society told you to value, but what your deepest self needed in order to grow. And when you remember that, you begin to live differently. You stop trying to control everything. You stop seeing problems as punishments. You start meeting life with curiosity, with humility, with reverence. You begin asking different questions. Not, how can I escape this? But what is this here to teach me? And in doing so, you turn your challenges into initiation, your relationships into mirrors, your pain into purpose. You realize that every part of your journey, even the messy, chaotic, heartbreaking parts, were sacred steps on the path back to your soul. This is the life your soul chose, not because it would be easy, but because it would awaken you. Every moment is an invitation to remember that. Every breath is a chance to choose alignment over reaction. Every experience, no matter how small, holds within it the possibility of transformation. And when you live with that awareness, when you walk through your day with the understanding that you chose this for a reason, life stops being something you endure and starts becoming something you embody. You become the living expression of your soul's wisdom, not in theory, but in action, in how you love, in how you forgive, in how you rise after falling. And eventually, you'll look back on everything, not just the highlights, but the struggles, and see that it all fit together perfectly, that every twist in the path brought you closer to yourself, that the ancient blueprint your soul designed before birth unfolded in divine timing. And you'll understand that awakening was never about escaping life. It was about living it so fully, so honestly, that your soul couldn't help but remember itself. And in that moment, you'll know. You didn't just live the life you were given. You lived the life you chose. And you lived it well.